today's video, we're going to be looking at the 2020 presidential election as of October 8th, 2020, and we're going to take a look at the 538 forecast to assess where the election stands as of today, who is the favorite to win the election, and look at all the interesting data they have about this election, about who's winning in some of the key battleground states, in addition to some of the other data they do have to analyze. So before we get started, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to be up to date with our latest content. So let's get started. So at this point in time, overall, the 538 forecast favors Joe Biden to win in the 2020 presidential election. So at this point in time, we're seeing a pretty big victory, at least when it comes to the margin. They give Biden a very big chance of winning. And overall, we're seeing that the chances for Donald Trump are narrowing down day in, day out. And I think this forecast is just going to be a bigger example of that and how Donald Trump has fallen behind at a nationwide level. So this was last updated 15 minutes ago, so it's pretty consistent, pretty big with the data. So just for a little bit of background, the biggest things that are currently impacting the election, the latest news, the first vice presidential debate really hasn't moved much, like they're saying here, and I think it's not going to move on anything either. And then also today afternoon, we saw a very big FBI investigation kind of come into here with an affidavit talking about how there's a plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. That was a very interesting and damning report, and again, that's probably not going to affect too much of the election. However, it's things that are just in the news cycle right now, which really might or may not have an impact. I don't know how this could have a big impact, but it definitely could. And in past years, things that should not have been as impactful towards an election just ended up being. So at this point in time, we're seeing overall a race where Biden has an 84 in 100 chance of winning. In other words, 84% chance to Donald Trump's 15% chance. So breaking this down, we're seeing that Biden has very strong numbers. If you guys remember, even during Donald Trump's lowest points were during the Black Lives Matter movement, that area of the midsummer, in addition to the very big outbreak of COVID-19 in the Sun Belt, we see Donald Trump performing worse right now than he did in those times. And again, this shows that Biden has a very large chance of victory. Donald Trump's chances at the presidency are very narrow. And a 15% chance is a 15% chance. And I think any chance of being the next president of the United States is good enough. And just considering the fact that Hillary Clinton won the election with about this percent chance of winning on election day. So keep that in mind, that Donald Trump is able to beat the odds. Now, will he be able to beat the odds again and win the election? That is something that we need to see. But at this point in time, they give Biden a lot of a percent chance of winning, with only one scenario where it is an electoral college tie and essentially the House of Representatives decide. So at this point in time, that's what we're saying with that. So now let's take a look at the outcome in the simulations that they have. And of course, we're going to see a very big amount of high numbers, I guess, towards the Biden victory area. So this would be whoever's victory would be essentially the reciprocal of each other. So this one, if you flip the graph around, it would essentially look, it would make a huge square, I guess, because that's what it would be. And at this point in time, we're seeing a race where truly Joe Biden has a lot of advantages. Looking at Joe Biden's points, so this would probably be just narrowly winning a couple states. And then you see a lot of these ups and downs signifying some scenarios. He would probably be just narrowly winning the Rust Belt. Here would probably be Rust Belt plus Arizona. He would be getting into Rust Belt and North Carolina, Rust Belt and Florida, Rust Belt and both areas in addition to all the states that I mentioned. Then the chances go down. And then we see a huge spike when you add Texas into the mix. Joe Biden's chances at victory in some instances aren't too high. For example, looking at in some of the certain middle parts, because again, in those, if you look at it like that, it would be very specific combinations. But these big combinations that he would be winning a lot of these certain states that at this point he is close to leading or he is not far behind from winning. I think that we're seeing very good chances for Vice President Biden when it comes to winning the race. And overall, we're going to see this time and time again in this forecast. So let's take a look at the vote margins as of right now. So currently, there's a lot of states that have started to fall out. And this race is becoming a little bit tiny closer in some ways. And like for example, states like Florida are narrowing down a lot more. However, they're still in the president's column. And right now, the closest states in this election, Ohio is pretty close at this point. Georgia is pretty much at a tipping point. So is the state of North Carolina. These are going to be the crucial states that are going to impact the election. Ohio, North Carolina, Arizona, Florida. And truly, these are just add-on states for Joe Biden. Even without winning those states, he still wins the presidency. And at this point in time, that's something that we must look at. And I think looking at the true tipping point is going to be the state of Pennsylvania. If Trump is able to win Pennsylvania, the rest of these states, he wins the presidency. By a narrow margin, yet winning is still winning. And overall, this is why Joe Biden's map looks very well. He has a lot of depth in his map. So when I talk about depth is that he has a lot of states that he could resort to if something doesn't work out. I lose Ohio, amazing. Let's just go on to North Carolina. I lose North Carolina, great. Arizona's our next bet. Florida, we lost it. Well, we can go to Pennsylvania, but we must win there. He has a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Rather, Donald Trump and his campaign are in a position where they're not the ones that have millions of plans. They're very specific right now where they could go because, again, they're far behind in this election. They have to win. They have to go overcome in Ohio, North Carolina, Arizona, Florida, Nebraska, and Pennsylvania just to narrowly win. And I think this shows us that the Trump campaign doesn't really have a very big open pathway towards the presidency, which, again, this could mean that it's bad. But although, I mean, things can definitely happen because, again, we saw a pretty big surprise victory for him in 2018. However, in 2016, however, we don't know if that's going to replicate itself. So let's just take a look at the chances of winning as of right now. And right now, Biden's chances of victory have skyrocketed ever since the first presidential debate and ever since the Donald Trump diagnosis of COVID-19. We saw Biden rise immensely, and we saw Donald Trump drop a lot. And overall, I think these numbers are very strong for Vice President Biden. These are the highest numbers he's ever held during this presidential election. And this is considering there is a very good period of time where he was leading Donald Trump by a big margin. And we're less than a month from election day. A 14% lead in polling data and a 70% lead, a 7-point lead in the forecast. This is going to be a tough election for Trump to win. Not impossible again, but unlikely. And I think at this point in time, Donald Trump, he was supposed to, and he should have been able to come back during this last month. And he could have done that if he would have gone with a regular strategy of going and campaigning in person. Because at this point in time, a lot of Trump voters, the reason they vote for Trump is that at this point in time, we're seeing they really like their rallies. So I think since that's not happening anymore, that has naturally brought his margins down. But in addition to just the Democrats painting him as a figure that he maybe isn't completely, and the Democrats have done something very, very well during this election politically, and that is manipulate information. And they've been able to use information that may not have been 100% accurate, and they've somewhat twisted it in some ways. And the way they word things, they might not be wrong, but the way they word things, they really hurt the Trump campaign. I think at this point, that is one of the brilliant strategies the Democrats have had to defeat Donald Trump during this election. Looking at the average electoral votes, we're seeing, again, very big difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. There was a point in time where the race was narrowing up a lot, and we're almost at the 220 to 318 mark. All of that has gone out the window, and at this point, the purple section of this map, which would be the percent chances, or the area rather, that the electoral votes could really go to anyone, it would be very swingy. Again, all of that is out the window since Donald Trump's diagnosis of COVID-19 and the first presidential debate, which really did more harm to him than helped him. And overall, we're seeing Biden increase a lot, and he realistically is within striking distance of getting 400 electoral votes when it comes to the electoral college. So that's something that I feel is very interesting and very interesting to look at. And I think at this point, this is just another way that we can tell Biden is ahead nationally. He is the favorite to win this election. And looking at the popular vote, it's gotten worse for Trump. A lot of people would have expected that maybe he'll lose the popular vote by maybe 5 to 6 points. It's not 5 or 6 points anymore. It's almost 10. And at this point in time, it's a tough election for Trump. The electoral college is more valuable than the popular vote. However, the popular vote is an indicator of what would happen nationwide. These numbers of an 8% margin of victory, there is a 99% chance that Biden wins the election if you listen to political analysis experts. And I think at this point in time, it's interesting to see that Biden has an 8-point lead in the national polling data. And we might be in for a very, very big Biden victory. So at this point in time, I just want to look at some of the possibilities they have on their website of different scenarios that could occur on election day. And I think at this point in time, this is something that we definitely should take a look at. So I think at this point in time, we're saying Trump wins the popular vote, a 7 in 10 chance, while Biden winning the popular vote, a 9 in 93 in 100 chance. So at this point, Trump winning the popular vote, very, very low chances. I also wanted to give a very big thank you to DG Davis for that super chat. I really appreciate it. So going on and continuing with what we were talking about, the popular vote for Biden right now, the possibilities are very high. Winning more than 50% of the popular vote at this point, not very likely for Trump. Extremely likely for Biden. Day in, day out, Biden is increasing these possibilities. Trump winning by a landslide, probably not going to happen. They put a less than 1% chance. While Biden winning by a landslide, 35% chance. Very, very strong numbers yet again. And overall, these numbers are very, very, very important for the Biden campaign. If you are a Democrat and a Biden supporter, these numbers are great news for you. Chances are, come January 20th, you will see Vice President Biden become President Biden because these numbers are just way too strong, especially a month away from election day. It's not impossible for Donald Trump yet. Again, like we're seeing here, it's unlikely. Trump wins the popular vote but loses the Electoral College 0 to none. Well, Biden happening to Biden, there's a 9% chance of victory, or there's 9% chance. Chances that no one wins the Electoral College, less than 1. Trump wins at least one state Clinton won in 2016. There's a 30% chance Biden wins at least one state that Trump won in 2016. Probably going to happen. The map stays exactly the same as it was in 2016. Less than 1% chance. And the election hinges on a recount that we go for weeks, recounting the vote, making sure ballots were counted, all those different things that usually come with these long, grueling elections. That's a thing that we might look at. And overall, these possibilities yet again show how Biden right now is the favorite to win this election. And overall, the facts are the facts. And at this point, the facts show scientifically that Biden is the leader. And at this point in time, for Trump, it's going to take a very hard month of campaigning. He essentially has less than 3 weeks to figure this out. He's probably going to get out of his COVID stage in the next 1.5 weeks. And that's really going to give him and put his foot in the right place where he can start going out and campaigning and try to salvage anything that he can have left. Now, for Donald Trump, is it the best thing to do to simply just go back and try to salvage everything? Maybe not. I think at this point in time, we're also looking at a race. Republicans are short of money all across the map, and they're going to need to start raising money. So I think at this point in time, the Republicans should just give up on the presidential race because at this point, I'm sorry, Republicans, it looks like it's a lost hope for Republicans, and I think they should just start investing in these Senate races because, again, the thing about American politics is the presidency is amazing, but you're not going to get anything done if you don't have Congress. For the Republicans, it's more valuable to hold the Senate than it could be to keep the White House. That sounds crazy and all, but I think it's definitely true. And the Republicans are short of money. That's a simple fact. They have a lot of competitive races, in part because the Democrats have a lot of very good candidates. Overall, I think we should be looking at a race where truly the Republican Party has fallen behind. The chances of them coming back up pretty down, I guess, because we're looking at a race where Donald Trump is simply falling behind. COVID-19 diagnosis really did it for Trump. That was the October surprise, and it ended up hurting the Republicans. So overall, this is the 538 forecast regarding the 2020 presidential election, and it shows us that Biden is the clear favorite to win the election. The odds are stacked against Donald Trump. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will be going live and doing a separate live right now, maybe to just do a little bit more of the interaction discussion, and we could talk about more things on a more broader scale. And yeah, so guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you watch this, please give it a huge thumbs up, and if you want to discuss anything, please put it down in the chat. So guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please give it a huge thumbs up, like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications.